welcome to la chaîne géopolitique. So, as you know, one of the main purpose of this channel is to make some perspective and to really to understand what will be the headlines tomorrow or over the next weeks. So, if you are interested in all those geopolitical issues, do not hesitate to subscribe to this channel by clicking on the button subscribe. So today we will try to talk about a subject we will be on the headline and for probably over the next days, which is the Iranian issue, the Iranian nuclear issue. So due to the fact that Iran has notified today the IAEA, the International Atomic the Energy Agency, that Iran will not allow any more snap inspection in compliance with the additional protocol, as Iran reminded today that if others do not fulfill their obligations, the government, or the Iranian government, is obliged to suspend the voluntary implementation of the additional protocol. So when we are referring to the additional protocol, we are referring actually to the 1970 treaties, the non-proliferation treaties, the NPT, which compels countries to use the military production for only civilian use and not for military use. And for that, so there is such agency, this agency, so the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, who is the watchdog of the United Nations to monitor, the compliance with the NPT treaty, the non-proliferation treaty signed in 1970, which Iran is party of this treaty. But the additional protocol is let's say non-binding. So that's why in Iranian let's say point out that it's just they comply with this additional protocol based on a voluntary implementation, and it is in this additional protocol and not in the NPT, non-proliferation treaty in itself, that the snap let's say the provisions related to snap inspection are mentioned, are specified. It is in the additional protocol, and that's why Iran thinks that due to the fact that any parties to the treaty, due to the fact simply that the United States do not rejoin the nuclear deal, the JCPOA, immediately, and at the same time do not lift any sanction towards the Islamic Republic of Iran, Iran feels, let's say, compelled to, let's say, to announce that simply that it will not comply anymore with the additional protocol and will not allow, as of 21st of February, meaning this Sunday, will not allow the snap inspection, meaning that inspector now will not be let's say allowed to inspect the nuclear site with a short-term notice. So it doesn't mean that Iran will not allow those inspections. Those inspections will still be allowed, but it will take much more time for Iranian to let inspector to access to those sites. So instead of 2 hours, it could be, for example, 2 days, 2 weeks. I don't know exactly. So from the other parties, for the United States and for any other party, we can think that such a decision from the Islamic Republic of Iran could increase, let's say, suspicion, distrust toward Iran, because if Iran has nothing, let's say, to blame, so why it does leave a bigger notice period? And also not to make things, let's say, to increase this distrust between parties, Iran has announced that it's producing also metal uranium, which is quite a, let's say, an advanced stage, let's say, in this process in the nuclear weapons. So the question is exactly what is our intention of Iran? So why Iran are taking such, let's say, a very those step, let's say those steps who could maybe endanger the situation, who could bring, let's say, could push back even the United States to the nuclear deal. The problem, we are facing a dilemma right now between Iran and the United States, because the question is who will go first. I mean, as you see, there is a clearly distrust between US and Iran. So the question is who will blink the first one. At this stage, it's not yet clear because Iran expects that US, as US left this nuclear deal, the JCPOA, on their own, unilaterally, they have to rejoin it, let's say, immediately, as it was their decision to to withdraw from it. And at that time, Iran, we have to remind to our viewers that Iran did not breach any provision of the JCPOA. So that's why Iran say, as the US left now, if you really are, your intention is just to be part of this deal again, so you have to rejoin it. And the fact that US, let's say, is ready to rejoin it, but just on some conditionality, could make, if you like, create some issues for Iranian. And that's why Iran wants to create, if you like, some leverage to, let's say, to before entering into negotiation with the United States by, if you like, taking such, let's say, daring actions like increasing the threshold of the nuclear enrichment to 20%, to now produce metal uranium, to end the SNAP inspection. And clearly, Iran wants to create a showdown with the United States that if US does not want to rejoin immediately the nuclear deal, Iran will continue taking additional actions. But at the same time, Iran also clearly states that all those actions they are taking, or they have already taken, are reversible. So each time, so if US makes a first move, Iran will reverse all those actions that they have announced and already implemented. So at the same time, we see some also some, let's say, softer stance also from Iranian point of view. And also, in order to help, let's say, salvage this nuclear deal, the Qatari foreign minister is planning to come to Iran this week to meet President Rouhani and Iranian foreign minister Mohammad Javad Zarif in Tehran. So from the Iranian foreign minister said we will welcome efforts by our friendly countries like Qatar, because Qatar clearly is a friendly country towards Iran, while at the same time keeping extremely good relation also with the United States. Keep in mind that Qatar is now hosting the largest US base in the world, and while at the same time having a very warm and friendly relationship with the Islamic Republic of Iran. I don't know so many countries who can, I think, being a mediator in so I think Qatar could be the best mediator between US and Iran, and that's why the Qatari foreign minister would like just to help salvage this nuclear deal by going to Tehran and meeting President Rouhani and Foreign Minister Javad Zarif. So we see clearly that the next day, the next week, once again, will be decisive. We have already said that a couple of weeks ago in another video, but I really think that there is a window opportunity right now due to the fact that the people in power in Iran are, let's say, are really willing that the United States rejoin the deal and lift the sanctions. But if those things do not happen over the next week, I fear that the hardliners could win the next presidential election in the Islamic Republic in Iran in June, and things could go to another direction this time. and a confrontation again between US and Iran, if the hardliners come to power, could be again a realistic scenario that could really happen over the next week. So that's why Zavadjarif, the Iranian Foreign Ministry, points out that US has to take immediately steps, make the first move in order to gain trust between both parties.